Welcome to the Power Within, where comfort ends and transformation begins. This isn't just another motivational video. This is your wake-up call. Because deep inside you, there's a version of yourself that refuses to settle. A version that's tired of excuses, tired of playing small. And today we're gonna meet that version head-on. Here we don't sugarcoat, we don't play nice, we talk discipline, we talk pain, we talk purpose. Because real change doesn't come from comfort. It comes from suffering with intention. So if you're ready to take back your life, build unshakable mental strength, and become the savage you were born to be, then you're in the right place. Before we dive in, do one thing for your future self. Hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs it, and subscribe so you never miss the fire that fuels your inner warrior. Let's get into it. This is the Power Within. Let me tell you something most people don't know. The man you see today, the one who speaks with fire, who trains like a savage, who refuses to quit, he didn't always exist. I wasn't born tough. I wasn't born disciplined. I was born scared, broken, weak. You want the truth? I grew up in hell. My father was a violent man, a hustler, a pimp, a monster in human skin. I watched him beat my mother until she collapsed. I watched him drag her unconscious body down the stairs by her hair while I stood there, frozen, helpless, silent. Every time he raised his fist, I died a little more inside. My home wasn't a home, it was a war zone. Fear wasn't just an emotion, it was the air I breathed. And in the middle of that chaos, something strange happened. A voice started whispering inside me, a voice that didn't scream like the rest. It said, "Get up, do something." But I didn't. I ignored it. I was just a scared little boy, hiding behind silence, praying someone else would save me. But no one ever came. And that's where most people get it wrong. They think strength is something you're born with. No. Strength is forged in pain, in darkness, in isolation. It begins in those moments when you've got nothing. No support, no answers, just a quiet whisper that says fight. But back then, I wasn't ready to fight. I buried that voice, buried it under fear, under shame, under the belief that I was never going to be anything more than a victim of my circumstances. This is where it all started. Not with triumph, not with glory, but with a broken child in a broken home, learning the hard way that nobody's coming to save you. And if you want to survive, you've got to become your own damn hero. For years, I lived with that voice buried deep inside me, muffled by fear, smothered by comfort. I tried to silence it with food, distractions, and excuses. I told myself I wasn't ready. I told myself I didn't have what it takes. But that voice never stopped. It was always there, scratching at the walls of my mind, reminding me that I was wasting my life. And the more I ignored it, the louder it got. I found myself stuck in a cycle, seeking comfort but feeling more uncomfortable than ever. I ate to feel better. I stayed home to avoid the world. I told myself I was fine, but deep down I was miserable. I was a prisoner in my own body, in my own mind. I had ballooned to 297 pounds. I couldn't recognize the man in the mirror. I hated who I had become. But even then, I still wasn't doing anything about it. I was haunted by shame, paralyzed by fear, and drowning in regret. I blamed everyone. My father for his abuse, my childhood for its trauma, my genetics for my body, my circumstances for my failure. But blaming the world didn't change anything. The voice inside me wasn't interested in excuses. It didn't care about what I had been through. It only asked one thing: what are you going to do about it? That voice was the truth, and the truth was brutal. No one was coming. No hand was reaching out. No miracle was on its way. And if I didn't stand up and fight for my life, no one else would. That's when I realized it wasn't the world that had to change. It was me. It was always me. The fear, the shame, the pain, they weren't obstacles. They were fuel, but only if I was finally willing to face them. And for the first time, I didn't push the voice away. I listened. One night, everything changed. I was sitting alone in my apartment, 297 pounds of regret weighing on my chest, flipping through TV channels like I always did, trying to escape myself. And then it hit me. I stopped on a documentary about Navy SEALs, Class 224. I watched them crawl through mud, push past pain, get screamed at, broken down, and still keep moving. And something inside me snapped. I wasn't inspired. I was ashamed. I looked at those men and realized I wasn't even living. I was existing. I saw in them something I had never built in myself. Grit, fire, purpose. And that's when it truly hit me. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was a volunteer. I had chosen the path of least resistance. I had chosen mediocrity. I had chosen comfort over growth, fear over challenge. And in that moment, I couldn't lie to myself anymore. I saw the truth, and the truth was ugly. I was everything people said I'd be. Lazy, useless. But the voice inside me, it got louder. It didn't scream, it dared. What if you could be more? What if the man you were meant to be is hiding underneath all this weight, all this pain, all this fear? For the first time, I stopped running from that question. I let it burn into my chest. No more distractions, no more blaming, no more hiding. I got honest with myself, brutally honest. I was the problem, but that also meant I could be the solution. Watching Class 224 wasn't entertainment, it was a mirror. And I hated what I saw. So I decided right then and there I wasn't going to die like this. If I had any shot at changing my life, I had to move. I had to suffer. I had to build a new version of myself from the ground up. That was the moment I stopped existing and started becoming. And I knew it was going to hurt, but I also knew it was the only way forward. The next morning, I woke up different. I didn't wake up with confidence. I didn't wake up with motivation. I woke up with a decision. I was going to become a Navy SEAL. It sounded insane. I was nearly 300 pounds, couldn't swim, and couldn't run more than a quarter mile without collapsing. But I didn't care. That voice inside me had finally become louder than every excuse I used to hide behind. So I picked up the phone and called a Navy recruiter. He answered. I told him straight, I want to be a SEAL. He paused, probably thinking I was a joke. Then he said, come in, let's see what we're working with. I walked into that recruiting office carrying almost 300 pounds of shame and self-doubt. He looked at me and didn't sugarcoat it. You've got to lose 106 pounds in less than 3 months if you want to even qualify for SEAL training. Most people would have laughed. Most would have walked out. Hell, a part of me wanted to. But instead I looked him in the eye and said, okay. I walked back to my truck, gripping a chocolate milkshake. That old part of me whispered, just go back to work, spray some more cockroaches. Nobody expects anything from you anyway. And for a moment, I almost believed it. I almost gave in. But then I hit a wall, a literal wall, inside a kitchen, facing a swarm of roaches. And it hit me harder than anything else ever had. This is your life? This? I dropped the spray, walked out, and never went back. That's the day I quit my job. Not because I had another one waiting, not because I had a plan, but because I finally understood if I didn't commit now, I never would. I had to become someone else. I had to go to war with myself. There was no plan B, no safety net, just a man with a decision and the willingness to suffer for it. I had made the decision, but that didn't mean the path got easier. In fact, it got harder than I ever imagined. My first run as a man on a mission lasted all of a quarter mile, not 4 miles, not even 1. Just 2 blocks before my lungs gave out and my knees started screaming. I walked back home, collapsed onto the couch, and cried like a kid. I was broken, humiliated, and already doubting myself. I told myself I couldn't do it, that maybe I was just too far gone. But that voice inside me, the same voice that had whispered to me since I was a child, it didn't go silent. It didn't feel sorry for me. It didn't say, take a break. It said, get back up, try again. And that's what I did. The next morning I ran again. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't fast, but it was further. And then I did it again and again and again. I started tracking my calories. I gave up every comfort. No junk food, no late nights, no more excuses. I trained in silence. I trained in pain. I trained when no one was watching. The weight didn't melt off. It fought back. My body ached. My bones felt like they were cracking. My lungs burned. But I kept going. Some days I'd fall flat. Some mornings I couldn't even get out of bed without pain shooting through my back and legs. But failure wasn't an option. Not anymore. This wasn't about losing weight. This wasn't about qualifying for some military program. This was about redemption. Every step I took, every rep, every drop of sweat. It was me proving to myself that I was no longer the man who quit, who hid, who gave up. I wasn't trying to beat the world. I was trying to beat the old version of me. And that, more than anything, is what kept me moving forward. At some point, I realized motivation wasn't enough. It came and went like the weather, unreliable, weak. If I was going to do this, if I was going to become something more than just another story of wasted potential, I had to create something stronger. I had to build a mindset so unshakable, so relentless, that nothing, not pain, not failure, not fear, could break it. So I did something most people will never do. I went to war with myself. I became my own drill sergeant, my own enemy, and my own savior. Every single day, I looked in the mirror and spoke to myself like I was already the person I wanted to become. I didn't wait for compliments. I didn't need validation. I fed my mind with one message, over and over. You are not weak anymore. I wrote down every fear I had and attacked them one by one. Terrified of cold water? I jumped in. Hated running? I ran twice as far. Hated the silence? I embraced it. I took everything that made me uncomfortable and turned it into my battlefield. And through that suffering, I built armor. Mental calluses. I conditioned my mind like others condition their muscles, through repetition, pressure, and pain. I told myself, if they're sleeping, you're working. If they quit, you keep going. If they break, you stay standing. I didn't care if it was snowing at 3 a.m., or if my knees were screaming, or if my lungs were begging me to stop. I kept going. Because every day I did the hard thing. I chipped away at the weakness I had spent years building. This wasn't motivation. This was a mindset forged in hell. I wasn't chasing greatness. I was erasing every trace of the man I used to be. And I was willing to suffer for as long as it took, because the only thing more painful than the work was going back to who I used to be. Discipline isn't a habit, it's a way of life. When I committed to becoming the hardest man alive, I didn't make a wish. I made a contract with myself. No shortcuts, no rest days, no pity. While most people set alarms to wake up, I didn't need one, because my purpose was louder than sleep. I got up at 4 a.m., sometimes 3 in the freezing cold, in pouring rain, in thick snow. And every single time my instinct told me to stay in bed. But I didn't listen, because greatness doesn't care about how you feel, it only responds to action, and I acted. Every damn day. There were mornings I couldn't feel my legs, my knees felt shattered, my back was tight, but pain didn't excuse me. Suffering didn't slow me down, it sharpened me. That's what people don't understand. They think discipline is about doing things when it's easy. No, true discipline is built in the darkest moments, when no one's watching, when quitting would be easy and no one would blame you. But I would blame myself, and that was worse. So I created a rule. If it's raining, I run farther. If it's cold, I get out earlier. If it hurts, I go harder. Why? Because every time I said yes to discomfort, I said no to weakness. I stopped negotiating with my mind. I stopped listening to the voice that said, maybe later. That voice got buried under miles of pavement, reps under weight, hours in silence. And what rose in its place wasn't just a disciplined man, it was a different breed entirely. I didn't become unbreakable because I was born that way. I became unbreakable because I broke myself every single day and rebuilt with steel. Most people train until it hurts. I trained until it hurt, and then I trained through it. Because that's where the real power is. That's where your mind becomes a weapon. That's where average men disappear, and uncommon ones are born. The truth is, most people live and die without ever meeting the person they were truly meant to become. Not because they weren't capable, but because they never pushed hard enough to find out. Through all the suffering, through the early mornings, the pain, the solitude, something started to happen inside me. I began unlocking doors in my mind that I never knew existed. And behind each door was another level of me. A stronger version. A more focused version. A more savage version. I realized the limits I used to believe in were nothing but illusions, built by comfort, reinforced by fear, and accepted by weakness. Every time I ran farther than I thought I could, a door opened. That's where the real growth lives. That's where transformation begins. And once I started opening those doors, I knew one thing for sure. I was never going back. I had seen what I could become, and I would suffer as long as it took to keep climbing. Because once you realize your potential is limitless, you stop settling for anything less than everything you're capable of. And that is the most dangerous realization a human being can have. People look at me now and they think I've made it. They see the accolades, the records, the SEAL training, the ultramarathons, the speeches. They see the face, hard, intense, relentless, and they ask, "Are you happy now?" But they're missing the story. This isn't about happiness. This is about purpose. This is about waking up every day and knowing you're still in the fight. I didn't come this far to stop. I didn't suffer all that pain just to settle into comfort again. I've still got work to do. I've still got demons to face. And that's the truth most people don't want to hear. You are never done. The second you think you've arrived, you've already started to fall. So no, I'm not finished. Not even close. Because I'm not chasing a finish line. I'm chasing the next level. I'm chasing the version of myself that only reveals itself through more pain, more growth, more sacrifice. And that chase never ends. I don't want easy. I don't want applause. I want the grind. I want the resistance. Because that's where real life lives. So if you're waiting for the perfect time to start, if you're waiting to feel ready, let me be clear. No one's coming to save you. Not your parents, not your friends, not your boss. It's you. It's always been you. You either rise or you rot. You either suffer with purpose or you decay in comfort. Every day is a choice, every rep is a test, and every voice in your head is either your enemy or your greatest ally. So ask yourself, are you finished or are you just getting started? As for me, I've got a lot more to do, and I'll keep showing up until the day I die. Stay hard. If this message lit something inside you, don't ignore it. Don't just nod and move on. Because what you felt, that fire, that discomfort, that's your inner warrior waking up. That's the version of you that's been buried under excuses, fear, and comfort, and it's time to bring that version to life. You have the power, you always have, but you've got to claim it, with action, with discipline, with relentless commitment to becoming more. So if you're ready to go all in on yourself, don't just watch, participate. Hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear the truth, and most importantly, subscribe to The Power Within. Because every week, we drop content that pushes your limits, challenges your mindset, and reminds you of one unshakable truth. Your greatest version is built in pain, not comfort. The weak version of you, it ends today. This is your moment. This is your war. Now go out there and fight like hell. Stay hard.